with a yo-ho-ho, it's Tale of the Toaster, and here's a really off-the-cuff idea for a video. We have now seen the new Raimon in Inazuma 11 Victory Road, 25 years after Raimon were initially introduced as the protagonists, and 15 years after the Go versions were protagonists. So now they are the opposing team, the main rival of our new protagonist team. We have seen the team pretty much in full. All 11 members have artwork here, so it is my job to, with absolutely no scripting and very little in the way of prior thought, come up with some fake information or headcanons about all of them, or you could call them predictions. So we're going to go one by one. We're going to go right to left as we move across this art piece. There is a second art piece that kind of shows those two at the forefront, and it kind of shows the positions of the other players, but it's a little bit hard to identify. So for now, we're just going to go purely off of this. So everyone's going to get a dub-style name. Will this game actually have dub names? Well, you know, actually what it says here is the translations are provisional and may be subject to change before release. So let's keep huffing all of that copium as we get started on our right-hand side. Well, I guess, how do you determine who's the most right-hand side out of these? I'm going to go with her, because her name will be Daphne. Her second name will be Daffodil. Daphne Daffodil, is that a real Inazuma name? Well, I remember somebody on Twitter, probably Small Toaster, was... not France emoji, was getting a tiny bit of Fran flashbacks. Oh, why have I clicked on him? That's for another character. Like I say, off the cuff for all but two. Never mind, I don't see it, but this is going to be no cuts. We have to roll with everything. She will be called Daphne Daffodil, and she will play in defense. She'll be a little bit reluctant to come to the forefront of the action, but... you know, if we get time to investigate this team properly, then she can have a bit of a coming out of her shell arc. Next up, we've got this guy who probably reminds me most of... what do we call... not the sure Windass gives us a peace protection plan. It reminds me the most of... well, I guess it's a combination of Chunky and Smiley's glasses. Wait, that one's Smiley, isn't it? Anyway, it's like the glasses of these two on the body of this guy. So it's kind of Tenma's-ish. It's even got the wild blue hair as though he's from the future. So that's true. He's from the future. No, he's not. I'm not going to suggest that this guy has come from the future, though he may have a descendant in the future. You know, wouldn't it be cool if some of the members of Ragnar and the other hyper-evolved children just found their ancestors in this game instead? But he, to me, based on the colour of his hair, is the son of a renowned dentist, and his name is Nesbit. Nesbit's second name will be Rantham, so it's Nesbit Rantham, and he was very keen to get into football because he doesn't want to take over the family dentistry business. Next, this guy. This is the hardest one to even see in the first place. Am I in the highest possible quality? I could have premium with enhanced bitrate. Hold on, wait, did that... low-key, I think that actually made a difference. Wait a minute. I don't know, he could have been on... maybe he's the ancestor of the werewolf howl guys. Yep, let's go with that. He is the... it's going without me. Playing some T-Pistons. He is the great-grandfather of... look at me trying to use dub names on the wiki. The copium continues. Of Wolfram Vulpine. And, you know, he had to come from somewhere, after all. So he could have the power to create duplies, but he's the goalkeeper. That's not speculation. That's just true. You can tell that much by looking at him. So his name will be... I was going to call him Wolf, but then that would be like Wolf White from Alpine, who was also a goalkeeper. So let's keep in the line of Wolves, and we'll call him. I'm trying to make a pun based on a husky, but I guess he's called Hussein Ski. Hussein Schemer. Wait, that would make him related to Guile Schemer in the future. Maybe he's just got a bit of everything going on, but I don't know, it's his duty to protect the goal, and this is the guy who catches me the least anyway, so we'll just call him Wolfin Warpath. There we go. Wolfin Warpath is what I will refer to him as until we have more information. Nextly, this guy. This is the one who got me to open some of my tabs in advance, because he, in my mind, is someone who's just kind of graduated from the Raimon second team. Because if you look at his design, he's a bit of a hybrid of this guy from the Raimon reserves and this guy from the Raimon reserves. This main image doesn't show it off too well because he looks happy in it. But here, where he's looking a little down in the dumps in his actual kit. Shoutouts to... Oh, no, it wasn't uploaded by Airy. Never mind, I was going to misappropriate my credit, but the wiki has just done a really good job of upgrading all of these images in higher quality. Like there we go. That's one that she actually did. But... yeah, so just based on pure visual similarities, I think that this angry dude has only just made it out of the reserves team, and he's going to be a bit of a blue lock kind of jingo. So he's the one who's probably playing in defence quite reluctantly. He doesn't really want to be there, but he's keen to prove why. He's just graduated from the reserves team, and he'll just... You know, it's my way or the highway when it comes to Endo Haru's team. So he'll participate in it, but it's he just wants to be a forward and he can't be. His name is Ascot Mules. Is there any origin behind that one? What are these two called? Joaquin Coronado? Since when did we have, like, a Brazilian player in the Raimon Reserves? I've never even acknowledged that name before. His nickname is Kini? Huh? Joaquin Coronado? Have I even got the right, like, region of the world there? Well, you can tell me. And then there's Friedrich Schiller. Wait, Schiller? Schiller's back? Could this be a Schiller as well? Probably... not, I'm going to suggest. So Ascot is actually the name of one of the Royal Academy Go guys. So tell you what, we might come up with a different one for him. He can be... No, it's too late. He's Ascot Hughes. Ascot Hughes? Ascot Mules. Nextly, this guy is vibing. Let's unpause a little bit to get him more in frame. There we go. That's all you get. He reminds me so much of Zor from Sonic Lost World. Like, I enjoyed Sonic Lost World. It's a game that gets a lot of hate for stereotypical characters, but mate, that's the point. Of course they're stereotypes. It's not about the complexity of the character designs. It's about what they say when they're such a parody of the genre. You can't take modern Sonic games seriously on purpose unless you're one of the developers behind Sonic Forces. But this is not a video about Sonic. This is nevertheless me saying he's going to be pretty much Inazuma's equivalent to Zor from Sonic Lost World, who can do nothing other than tell us like how depressed he is and how much he just wants his life to get better. He's done well to get off the bench in the first place under those conditions, but in reference to Zor, I'm going to call him Gordon, and his second name will be something beginning with a Z to complete the reference. It's going to be Gordon Zail. That's Zaile. I actually said Z for the first time ever. I can't believe that's because I've clearly been reading some Brazilian Portuguese just a moment ago. Let me catch up. All right, so Gordon is going to be my one of my favourite players on the team. Now, nextly, this guy. I mean, do I even need to say it? Let me just drag a picture onto the other screen. We are very used now to the idea of Victory Road having some characters with descendants in it, like Mark Evans' son is on this team. Somebody like Dr. Cryptix may have another one, or whoever else is running the Chronicle mode. And as soon as I saw this guy, it just makes me think of Adé Kébé. Now, the implications of that are quite dire, all things considered, because that would mean Adé Kébé would have a high school son that's kind of his age, only 15 years after he was also in the school football team. So it would be a little dubious. So what we're going to do is say it's not Adé Kébé's son. It's just somebody who is either greatly inspired by Adé Kébé and his lifestyle, or it's his younger brother or nephew. If Lucian Dark can be a nephew of Ray Dark, then Adé Kébé can have a nephew. And therefore, he will be carrying across the Kébé name. I don't really know what to do with the first name, because Adé Kébé is a very francophone name, and I'm not so brilliant at coming up with those. But when I was speaking to Alexander Greensmith on the phone, he literally called him Chadé Kébé, because it's just Adé but slightly more Chad and buff. So in the absence of a real first name, we're calling him Chadé Kébé, and he's related to the family. Likewise, this guy is also a little bit similar to Dodge. I think that's just the hair colour and the fact that he's, in general, just a bit peeved off. I don't think there's much more to it than that, but it is one where I've seen a lot of the Twitter people saying, oh, it's like Dodge. I never actually gave Chadé Kébé a personality, but as you can expect, it'll be the exact same as Adé Kébé, and he will have a Geordie accent in my Let's Play. I feel like the purple-haired guy, to be honest, if he reminds me of anything, it's probably Rayo from Blue Lock. But what we'll give him a name first, and then we'll define his personality. I feel like we've gone too long now without picking a distinctly non-English name. So I was going to call him Pierre, but that would be JP, because it's Jean-Pierre. So what we're going to go with is Francis, and his surname will be Help. No, that's not his. Francis Help. Maybe he should be called Francis Help, or maybe I expand upon that, because he's going to be one of the big helpers of the team after all. His name will be Francis Helponye. I think we can maybe come up with a better name for this guy down the line, but for now, he is, I would say, the second in line to be captain, or at least before Haru Endo starts getting involved. He's definitely got that leadership aura around him, but he doesn't challenge Ren and his authority or anything like that. He fully respects that this guy is meant to be the captain. It's not me, but I'll step in and have a bit of a Nathan Swift moment if and when you require me to. He doesn't really have much of a personality beyond that, but I think, is he one of the guys you can see on the pitch playing some kind of position? Have I gone too far? Yeah, you can see him in the centre midfield. So clearly, I wasn't misguided. This is probably the third most important member of the team, and Francis can be a bit of a playmaker for these guys, so that's all he really needs to be in this case. So let's start going down the line again. You know what? While he's unobscured, this guy, his entire personality is that he's late to everything. He's a consistent oversleeper. He doesn't understand how other people can wake up in time. He's regularly will have at least 14 alarms set in the morning and will religiously sleep through at least half of them. And maybe he gets into some dubious practices in the future, but for now he's a good dude, if lagging slightly behind. How has he gotten into the football team with his latent laziness aspects? That's just because he is the ancestor of Sylvia and Eric. I wasn't planning on saying. What's an Inazuma character with black hair? And I said Sylvia, who, by the way, doesn't even have black hair. She has green hair. I just picture it as being black or brown based on how it's portrayed in the games. It's such a dark shade of green, you can't tell until Ares. But you know what? Given that he's got a bit of an absentee father, Eric still doesn't live in Japan. He's spending most of his time in America, living out the sunset years of his career as a 39-year-old. So Sylvia's had to do a lot of the work on her own, and she's caring not just for her son, but still all the residents of Windsor Manor. And that's why, on reputation alone, he's snuck into Raimon, where he's at least decent, and his name is... Well, his second name is Woods, or would it be Eagle? Have they gotten married at this point? Do we have a Sylvia Eagle? Again, if you're confused as to why I'm promoting Sylvia and Eric as a canon ship, it is addressed in the game of Go 1. It's not addressed in the anime at all, but Sylvia is actively said in the games to have a boyfriend in America. So I'm kind of rolling with that as the truth. Obviously, she can't have Mark anymore, but at least Mark's son and Sylvia's son are still playing in the same team, and his name is Wally Woods. Sorry, bro just looks like a Wally. I can't help but alliterate all of them, but I didn't get a choice in the second name. Or it's Wally Eagle. Let's believe that they got married and it can be Wally Eagle, but then that sounds even worse. But you know what? We've made our mistakes now. As we move on to Clarity... Clarity Sinort, or should it be Charity? No, there's already a fairly popular Charity Scout in Go Galaxy and onwards. So her name is Clarity because she is a keen musician, as you can see, because she's doing the little whistling pose right now. She maybe wants to hit you with a Emperor Penguin, but you can't have that kind of haircut and not be at least a little bit interested in music, is what I'm going with. She's fairly well off in life, hence her parents decided to call her Clarity, but she's third in the line in this promotional artwork for a reason. I think you can see her in defense back here. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, she's there, but you can't really take it as she's definitely a defender because you can only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 11 members of the team. You can't even see the goalkeeper, but we at least know who he is. I guess if we're using the classic Raimon formation, then you assume there's someone over there and someone over there. I am using my mouse cursor to point at everyone, and I keep forgetting OBS doesn't actually record that part, so but pardon my gesturing. But yeah, Clarity is, I guess she's a defender, but I don't really want her to be. You get me? I want to see her in the midfield, actually, like, being useful. But then again, this is Victory Road, where the positions have been reworked gameplay-wise so that everyone is a bit more useful in their given slot. So Clarity will be your typical chippy, chirpy, upbeat kind of girl who's got a keen interest in music. She's never really faced any hard comings in life, much like her teammate Haru Endo, but she's going to learn a lesson at the hands of our protagonists. Then we've got these two, the ones who've actually already got names. Let's get them back up on the website again. Victory Road. There they are in that artwork as well. Nice bit of news. Yeah, the blue website is lighting me up a bit. So, oh, we've zoomed out incredifar because I was trying to get the background image from this for a thumbnail. But yes, Ren Tsukikage. He's just like me. Sorry, he's just like us. He's got my haircut. He's got my kind of demeanour. He's got Swadloon vibes all over. They made me the captain. He's not just going to straight up have my name. He can't just be an Isaac. I feel like this is one where, because we have a canon name for him in Japanese, if he were to get a dub name, he can't keep Tsukikage, even though you do literally see it in English on the back of his shirt somewhere in this trailer. Where do I go again? Yeah, that very deliberately in English says Tsukikage on the side of his shirt, but I would be amazed if they kept that in his dub name. But Ren, they could probably keep. That kind of makes sense enough. Usually with Inazuma, they either keep all of it or none. It's like Faerun would have made a lot more sense as Faeloon in English, because it's based off the word lunar, and it only came out as an R in Japanese because there is no difference between the letter L and the letter R. They just are used interchangeably. So basically his name was always Faeloon to begin with, but by spelling it was Faerun, so they just had to keep it. So this is one where they probably change it all, but I will choose to keep Ren because otherwise he's just going to end up with a name that's incredibly based on either me or Swadloon. He could be Dale instead of being Tail. Do we want to go with that? I did have a Dale on my team in Inazuma 1. That'd be a fun way to bring it back. Alright, sorry Ren. His name is now Dale, and his surname is Howloon. So there's a bit of Swadloon in there, but also an original bit in front just to make it a bit more on the money. So the Raimon captain is called Dale Howloon, and he is not related to Mizukamiya, much as a lot of the speculation wants him to be. I completely understand where you're coming from, because if I get an image of him up, Mizukamiya Inazuma, they have different hair colours, but they've both got the same thing going on of the hue of the hair adjusting as it goes down, and the haircut in general is relatively similar, at least a little bit. And they're both captains, obviously, that put all the emphasis onto a non-captain striker like Elliot Ember or Haru Endo. So I totally buy the theory that they're related, and that's exactly why it won't be true. So Dale is someone we'll get some more concrete information on in the coming months. I wish he had a little bio here, but at the end of the day, he's the first time we've had a Raimon captain that's the opponent. I think it's pretty straightforward. He'll be a Maxime or a Mizukamiya, Aka Reese type character who's there to hopefully try and encourage this guy to appreciate football a little bit more, because this guy, Haru Endo, when he loads, we can't make up a personality for this guy because he's already got one. He is the character on this team we have by far the most information about. Isn't soccer kind of boring? The complete opposite of Mark Evans, who loves football with all of his heart. And even this guy's grandson, I've once again spun the cursor around him and it didn't record it, but yeah, Canon Evans, maybe Mark Evans' great-grandson, but it's this guy's regular-ass grandson. And he is... I like that he's the common link. He's a forward that got Canon into being a forward as well, but Canon obviously has the enthusiasm from his great-granddad. Basically, this is a bit of a more genuine prediction because there's two angles you can take it. I was talking to Fairy on Twitter about this, and she was having a couple predictions of which way they could go, or if they want to do a blend of both. We know that Haru Endo thinks football is boring, and that's basically because it's all he's ever known. He's clearly having to go into this football trade based on how famous his father is. But there's two ways you can go. It can either be Mark and his mother, Nelly or Cam or whoever else it might be, is kind of strongly encouraging him to get into football and he doesn't want to disappoint them. Or, so that's kind of there's got to be a character flaw somewhere. If the flaw is within Mark Evans and the mum, it's because they've pressured him into getting into football when he didn't really want to. Or you've got the other way around where he's the problem and he is actually strictly just getting into football because of his father's fame, and he knows that he can have an easy path to the top, to get good grades in school, to get money and fame and girls and anything else that he could possibly want in life. He probably will get girls, considering Canon Evans was apparently from only 80 years in the future of Inazuma 11-3, despite being his great-grandson. But let's not get into Adé Kébé territory here. Let's just say, of the two, I both think and want it more to be the case where he is the problem. I want him to be riding off the coattails of his father, and I actually want Mark Evans to be quite well, I don't think he's going to be disappointed, because clearly this whole "don't you think it's kind of boring" is something he's saying in confidence to Ren. It's not something he's ever going to say to his dad, but his dad will eventually find out at some point, and I want Mark to be pissed. I want him to be really upset with his son for ever even thinking to say it. And I thought Mark will have been living in ignorance. He thought his son absolutely loved football when it actually turns out he doesn't. And this time they can't do a Go Galaxy where it's like, oh yeah, you love rhythmic gymnastics and you love boxing and you love basketball, but too bad you like football more now. Haru Endo should quit. He should be beaten and he should throw a stomping tantrum. He should get really, really upset with it and then leave. And that's the rest we see. Well, obviously he'll find his way back in one way or another, but that's the predictions and desires. But if they go down the route of he was pressured into it by his parents and his fame, then fair enough. The last thing we can do is give him a name. And it's hard to know how interesting to go with this, because his dad's called Mark. His great-granddad is called Dave. His mum is called Sharon. But then his grandson is called Canon. And obviously his Japanese name is Haru. I've not really got any idea how unusual that's meant to be as a name. So I wanted to basically go more interesting than Mark and Dave and Sharon, but less interesting than Canon. And so we're going to basically... we're going to pick him a current trend. Something that is on the way up. Oh, I think I've found it. Wait a minute. No, I don't even need to... That's the one. There's loads of kids called Elijah now, even though it's only like come up in recent years. I guess that would once again be alliteration, though. He'd be Elijah Evans. But it's too late. Haru is now Elijah. He could have just a name that starts with H. I'm not going to give him Harry because that's the name of his granddad. The husband of Sharon Evans, of course. Henry is a bit too posh for Montgomery Everest. Sure. No, I'm happy with Elijah. Maybe he can even have his mum's surname. I think Nelly already took the Evans name. But anyway, Elijah thinks that football is boring. But we'll see how the rest of that plot turns out. So there we go. What did we have in full recap? You've got Daphne Daffodil. You've got Nesbit, the dentist's son. You've got Wolfram's ancestor. You've got the reserve guy who made his way up. You've got Gordon, the Zor type guy. You've got Adé Kébé. You've got... I forgot. He's not Dodge. We've got Wally Woods, the son of Sylvia. We've got Clarity. We've got Dale. He's just like me. And we've got Elijah Evans. Thank you for watching this baseless speculation, and I'll see you in another video that's not 31 minutes of nothing.